Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're kicking rocks.
That's right, Johnny. We're kicking rocks into a river, and it actually is one of probably the most forgotten Civil War battles, but also one of the more pivotal ones on the West. And if you'd believe it or
It
not,
mattered?
by percentage of the army, kind of the bloodiest one. So
Oh, but not like actually just
percentage of the army, yeah,
percent
yeah,
of-
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
If we're gonna scale,
Although it's not a
but it's not the
small
actual biggest anything.
casualty. This is a big boy battle. We're talking Battle of Stones River, Johnny. We're
Okay,
finally getting there.
all right.
We're a little past date for when it actually happened, but I had a surgery.
But
Bear with me.
I mean, you went through some shit. Like that's understandable. You had, if you don't mind my saying, if you do edit it out, you had your throat cut open by a
I
surgeon.
did.
That's crazy.
I did.
So forgive the delay.
But here
Watch
we are.
it a year from now, and it'll be the anniversary.
Right on there, bang on there. But we're there. It is a battle that is brought on by Confederate relentless onslaughts and Yankee tricks / really good artillery placement. Makes for a very casualty-ridden battlefield. So let's get into it, Johnny.
So there's a couple of good offenses here, a couple of good battle plans that both succeeded.
Well, you have. I
kind
think
of,
it's more of
maybe?
you have a really good offense versus a really good
Or-
defense. Because the Union, which was
Okay.
supposed to be an offense,
Confederates
wound
were
up
attacking?
Yeah, wound up being more on the defensive side here with really good. This is, if nothing else, this battle shows how modern artillery change what you're gonna see moving forward. We're going to get into it, Johnny. It's late 1862. It's December. The Union just watched Burnside find out the definition of insanity at Fredericksburg when he kept throwing people at a stone wall for
That's right.
no particular reason, leading to a very massive...
Just to kill him.
Just to kill him. Leading to a very massive morale death kill for the Union.
Oh, you don't say. People
At the
didn't like
beginning
that.
part of 1862, the Union was like riding cloud nine, and by the end of 1862, we needed something to say, "Hey, that we don't have to surrender our entire army at this point."
Yeah, something to hang our cap on. Because I'm guessing the public pressure was getting to the point where they were sick of seeing loss after loss, or just nothing happening and just deaths and. Parents were tired of their 11th and 12th kids dying.
Dying,
You know.
yeah. We're right there with that, yeah. But out in the West, Johnny, the Union is going to turn away Confederate forces at the Battle of Perryville, where then Braxton Bragg and Buell kind of just don't do anything after that battle. They just kind of go to their respective corners and like, man, it's good enough.
Theme of the war. Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Trader President Davis is going to get sick of that, though, and he's going to tell Bragg that, you really got to kind of do something, and,
Yeah, we're actually at war here. Can you...
So Bragg is going to wind up moving
the
his
war
army
thing?
down towards Murfreesboro, Tennessee, on the Stones River, where he's going to set up defenses around November of 1862, and promptly all of his senior officers are going to request his removal from Trader President Davis, because, again, he's still not doing anything. It's like, hey, he moved us down to a new defensive position, but the dude that's away from from Buell's army. We're in the opposite direction. So can we
Move further
do
away.
something? Trader President Davis.
But it's real pretty, I imagine.
Well, it's a very beautiful country,
nice
and
hiking.
and it's very fertile country, and we'll get there in a second. Now, Trader President Davis is not going to actually remove Bragg, but what he is going to do is he's going to take 7,500 of his troops and move them over towards Vicksburg for the defense of Vicksburg, because at that point, like Davis, rightfully so, Vicksburg's his number one concern. Vicksburg falls, South's cut in half.
Sure.
War is pretty much over at that point. So,
Boom. Boom, done. Just do that.
So that's his
easy.
concern.
And the war ends 3 years early.
It would be nice. Lincoln is also a little bit frustrated at Buell, and he's going to go ahead and oust Buell. He's like, Buell, you're no longer in charge. He's going to go ahead and put Rosecrans in charge, who's had a little bit of good success all through this war up to this point. Lincoln is, however, going to warn Rosecrans that if he does not aggressively pursue Bragg, he too can be replaced. So...
Now, was Rosecrans under
Yes,
Buell,
yeah,
or
Rosecrans
did he
was like
come
the
from somewhere else?
senior officer, one of the senior officers.
It
of
just
Buell. Yeah. Yep.
all right, just ousted the leader and got the next.
And not
up
even so
guy,
much
and
ousted
so
him.
basically said,
He's just been demoted.
"I'll do the same shit."
Just demoted. He's still in the army, just demoted.
He does that a lot. Lincoln really doesn't like letting people just leave jobs, does he? He's like, you know
No.
what, you still got to do shit, but now you got to do shit shamed because I've demoted you and made you less than what you were.
Yep. So Rosecrans is going to reorganize and recollect himself and form the new Army of the Cumberland, specifically really reorganizing the cavalry that they've had up to this point because the Union Cav has been pretty ineffective and inexperienced in this war. So he's really trying to give them more than just a couple of ponies and a pistol or two. He's trying to really make them more of a fighting force.
To beef them up a little bit, and training is involved in this too.
Yeah. There's some more reorganization, restructuring of command, training, all that fun stuff. Yep. All that's going into it. Okay. Rosecrans actually won't move on to Bragg until around 26th of December, day after Christmas. So I'm surprised Lincoln didn't fire him because that was like a solid month and a half of sitting around reorganizing.
A while,
but
I mean, if he's going to do a complete reorganization, he's got to have time to get people organized and trained and get that in line. So, I mean, it's understandable that he would get some sort of time.
Yes, and he had stationed his troops
as long as
towards,
he's planning to go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he is. He's making his movements. He stationed his troops down towards Nashville, and on the 26th, he's going to move out in a 3-column march, one going on a northern road, one going on a center road, one going on a southern road, towards Murfreesboro, which is where Bragg's all set up. Now, he should theoretically have a massive numerical advantage because Rosecrans' army is actually 81,000 to Buell's army of just 35,000. But the problem is Buell is effectively using Confederate cavalry here. Now, he's using the two dirty rebels that have been raiding everywhere. He's using Knight and Bedford Forrest and Morgan from his raiders. Now, they're not actually attached to Bragg, and they're not underneath his command, but they are kind of rendering aid by raping and pillaging the countryside around Rosecrans' army.
They're a distraction.
Which means that Rosecrans can't take his entire army with him to Murfreesboro because he needs to protect his supply line, so he's now taking just a little over half at 43,000 men. So slight numerical advantage, but not what you would really want to see.
Because of a couple of land pirates?
Yeah.
I mean, we could have just run them over in this thing, but freaking Morgan, God.
Yeah, Morgan's going to be a thorn in their side in the West for the whole damn war.
Somebody freaking catch him.
Before we go into the battle itself, Johnny, I have to talk about Bragg's defensive strong point. And I use that term very, very loosely here because it's really just a quaint city in Stones River, that's Murfreesboro, that was very deeply supportive of the Confederacy and very rich with agriculture, meaning all through November and in through December, Bragg's forces were getting whined and dined by the local population, quite literally whined and dined. They are having the time of their life. They are living in quaint quarters. Their bellies are full, which is very, very rare for Confederate soldiers at this point in time in the war.
Must be
and
nice.
I can kind of see why Bragg is like, I want to move. It's okay. As far as a geographical defensive location, it's kind of shit.
Not good.
You're on relatively flat.
Which is a shame because I imagine this is somewhere in the Tennessee mountains, I imagine.
Yeah. You're like relatively flat land surrounded by a bunch of hillsides. Yeah, so where he's at
there's really easy ways to get nice defense positions. Lowland seems bad idea.
Yeah, he's in relatively flat lower lands with a bunch of hills around him. So not ideal if you're going to defend.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it doesn't really much matter, and we'll get there. By the night of the 29th of December, 2/3 of Rosecrans' army has actually arrived near Murfreesboro. But Rosecrans' inexperienced cavalry was not really prepared to screen more in front of his army, so he really didn't know what he was facing, like numerical-wise, by Bragg. Also doesn't help that Morgan and Forrest are terrorizing the entire Rosecrans lines as they're marching towards Murfreesboro, and besides the fact that he could have easily turned Bragg's left flank on that first night when he got 2/3 of his army there. He didn't really know what he had with him. He didn't really know what he was up against, and so he sat back on his haunches and did nothing.
This is just lack of information. Just send a scout. Like what? I mean,
Well, that's the inexperienced cavalry
right?
that
Isn't
we
that
got there. Yeah, yeah.
didn't?
He didn't send.
No, we spent a month and a half training
Yeah,
them, Tommy. They're not inexperienced. Send a horse to go run.
well, he
That's what
should
they
have.
do.
He should have, but he didn't. And
Have a little look see what's going on.
to make matters worse,
God,
Confederate
that's War
cavalry
101.
To make matters worse, Confederate cavalry underneath Wheeler is going to take his 2,500 men, ride completely behind Rosecrans's lines, and on the 29th destroy wagon trains and capturing a reserve ammunition train and 1,000 men. So not a great start.
Yeah, bad day to be a Union. There,
The next day,
yeah, that's smart though. That's a heady play. I mean, good on them. Maybe watch your back.
The next day,
get the 6.
Rosecrans gets his entire force of 41,000 men up. They are moved within just 2 miles northwest of Murfreesboro, and both armies orientated their lines in a parallel, facing each other southwest to northeast. So two diagonal lines towards the city.
Okay.
With Bragg having a very particularly weak left flank, ready for Rosecrans' attack, but again, Rosecrans is just stalling, even though he's now got the prime opportunity to do so on this day. He's gonna go, no, we gotta come up with a good battle plan, guys. We gotta sit down. We're gonna crack open a couple of pints, and we're gonna talk about the best way to take on old Braxton Bragg.
Maybe just go do it. Maybe just instead of sitting around, just. I mean, what have you been doing? Have you? How do they not have plans already? Do they not? Is this a surprise that they have to do this? I mean,
but John, you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to attack on that next day. They're just both going to
anything.
Both armies are just going to sit there looking at each other again. Like 2 days go by of just staring at each other. But both commanders are going to decide that the battle would begin in the morning, Johnny. We got it. On the 31st, the battle's going to begin. But both coming up with very, very similar battle plans. The Union was going to attack with Crittenden on the Confederate right flank, take the hills there, place artillery on top of the hills, and bombard the entire Confederate lines. Not a bad plan. Sure, great. Works out well. But Crittenden and the Union right flank commander McCook don't really talk to each other. And then, of course, Rosecrans isn't making everybody talk to each other to communicate what's going on. So McCook, who's expecting a Confederate attack at any minute, is going to light a shit ton of fires, trying to confuse the Confederates into thinking, A, that there's more men there, and B, what their actual position is, which would be good if it didn't encourage said Confederate attack kind of at the same time. So
he just lit fires.
Yeah, hoping that it would confuse the enemy to think
there's
there's more of them than there's not. So we're trying some Union trickery.
And instead they're like, I'm confused as to why they're making this so easy for us to walk up and kill them.
Yeah, because the Confederate Bragg is going to go, oh, the Union right looks like it's particularly weak since they're trying to distract us with fires. I mean, usually when you have a large army and the numerical advantage, you kind of try to hide it as much as going over it with it. But we got to attempt
it.
Union.
This is a real bad bluff with a 7-2 offsuit.
Yeah, little Union trickery. So it's the tale as old as time. Both armies are going to attack each other's opposite flanks, and if both attacks go off at the same time, you're going to make this big semicircle thing like we've had. How many freaking battle specials have we done where it's always it's attack the other one's flank, and it's always the opposing flank that they're attacking
at least.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
God, that.
But Johnny, both armies are going to hunker down. Right. No fighting on the 30th. But both armies' bands are going to start playing a battle of the bands against each other. With one side playing Yankee Doodle Dandy and the other side playing
that should have been the whole war.
Blue Flag. And can you just imagine, like, you're the one? It's like look. This battle's going to kick off at 6 a.m. It is 9 o'clock, guys. I want some sleep. Go to bed. Yeah. Like you know how shrill fifes are. They're so shrill, and you're gonna listen to that.
Yeah, you got the freaking bards keeping everybody up the night before battle. Go to hell. Like, what are you doing here? Unless that's going to win something. Like, I have a little drumline battle or whatever the hell. That's dope, but
that decides the battle
into the battle. Whoever wins, it's and you know what? It's a matter of cheers. So if you have a bigger
there you go.
army, no, you're got a better chance. So I mean, it would work itself out. I think that's
I think
maybe
you're
the
right,
future of
buddy.
warfare is
I
just
think
rat
you're right.
battles or whatever, drumline battles.
Well, on December 31st, New Year's Eve, the battle is going to kick off at 6 a.m. with Confederate forces underneath William Hardee hitting the Union right flank, where Richard Dick Johnson, a.k.a. Dickie Johnson, that's not really what they called him, but I'm going to call him Dickie Johnson, because Dick
Old Dickie
Johnson.
Johnson. Yeah.
Come on. What an
Golly,
unfortunate
that's
name.
tough. That's
His men were actually still sitting there bright and early in the morning eating their breakfast, completely and totally unprepared.
not bright and
For,
early.
what, 6 a.m.? That's still bright and early.
In
It's
December?
not bright. Yeah, it's still pretty dark. They're eating their breakfast.
No, it's the sun's not come up yet for another hour or so.
They're eating their breakfast at 6 a.m. and completely unaware that the Confederates are attacking, and you can guess how that's going to go. And I don't understand.
They're going to finish their breakfast, grab their guns, and then defend America and win the war.
Well, I don't understand how at this point in the war we can be caught. Like in the West, the Confederates can catch us off guards. Shiloh, early morning battle. They got up there early in the morning while we're eating breakfast and kicked our ass the first day. Fort Donelson, I think it was Fort Donelson, same thing. Early morning battle, and it's like, Jesus Christ, guys, you should. It's the third time this has happened. Wake up an hour earlier. Eat that breakfast an hour earlier.
Now, you know what it is? You want to know what it is, Tommy? We're just flexing on
Is
them.
that what we're doing?
We're like, we have food to eat breakfast. Like, we've got so much food. We're going to wake up and eat breakfast. Can you imagine, Confederates? No, you're too busy trying to sneak attack us to hopefully steal some of our sweet, sweet bacon we got hanging over our fires.
The Confederate assault is going to be 10,000 men, Johnny, in one massive wave. None of this, piecemeal, one brigade at a time. This is the entire,
Just
left
go.
wing of the
Yeah, they learned their
Confederates
lesson.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're learning.
Yeah, well,
now,
yeah,
there
they
is a
were
little
watching the
bit,
tape, so
to the McCook's fire situation, there is a little bit of confusion as to where the Union line actually is and how far it does extend. So there is a little bit of confusion with the Confederates.
Yeah,
It
the
does
smoke
slow them
and
down.
stuff, yeah.
And by slow them down, I mean, it's barely even worth mentioning
They're
how
like, what?
it
Huh?
slowed down
What's
because
that? Oh, there. Okay, now I know. Yeah.
because Dickie Johnson, he's going to suffer 50% casualties right off the bat.
Holy shit.
Not great. They're actually also going to capture several Union batteries.
How many, was that the 10,000? No, how many did he start with?
No, he didn't start with 10,000. The entire Confederate assault is 10,000.
Okay.
He's got 1,000.
Okay, that's what I
A couple
thought.
thousand.
Dickie
Yeah,
Johnson
he's
has-
not. No. He's got
Jesus.
1,000.
No,
He's
that's
going to suffer 50% casualties. A lot of those casualties are actually just men being captured. The Confederates are going to capture several
that's
batteries. Batteries of Union cannons before they even get a chance to shoot a shot off.
why?
These cannons
How?
are captured. This is how
Because they
unaware
surprised
the
during
right
breakfast, yeah.
flank
Good
of the
God.
Union was that something was going to be happening.
Dude,
Which is
how
ridiculous
did
because
they not
your
have-
army's preparing, the Union is preparing for its own assault. Its own assault that they're preparing. So you would think
have
everybody would be
somebody
up in line
on
first
lookout,
thing.
right?
Something. Jeez.
Or just have somebody on a lookout. Why isn't somebody
pickets.
watching around? That's so frustrating. That's so
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Very basic.
At 7 a.m., the Union assault is going to begin, with Crittenden beginning to have his forces cross a river at 7 a.m., which quickly gets canceled by Rosecrans because he's like, oh, shit, it has hit the fan. Stop.
Yeah.
We need some of your guys to be reorganized. Now, it did take him an hour to realize how much of a shitstorm he was in, because at first shots, Rosecrans was like, oh, no, Dickie Johnson's got this. McCook's got this. We're good. They can hold. And then it was like, oh,
And
they
then,
are
no.
not holding. And that point where,
they're getting
they are
fucked.
not holding might have come when, buckle up for this one, his best friend, Colonel and Chief of his Staff, Colonel Julius Garish, old Jules there is going to be riding very close to Rosecrans, and then his head's all of a sudden not going to be there anymore because a cannon round takes his best buddy's head clean off.
You imagine?
And he is so close to Rosecrans that Rosecrans is actually covered, and I mean covered, in old Julie's remains. to the point where he's giving commands, and some of his men like are oblivious to him even being there because they can't tell who he is or his rank by the gore that is on him. So
That's awful.
they'd be like, you riding.
But I mean, the thing is, what a way to go! Like the
Oh,
last
quick.
thing
Yeah,
he
he's never
knew
gonna-
he was
yeah.
riding.
Yeah, he's not gonna.
I mean, that's it. He's just, I'm riding a horse, going to the battle. We're gonna win this, and then lights out, done, gone. That's it.
Yeah.
But good God, Tommy, could you imagine if we were riding horses and my head just blew up?
Well,
and
I tell you what, I'm
covered
not going to
you
do.
with
I'm
my
not going to continue to
brains?
do my job. That's what I'm quitting on the spot. I'm not going to continue to direct. But to
No, that- you
Rosecrans'
call-
credit,
Yeah, you get
covered
a
head-
a sick day.
yeah, covered head to toe in his buddy's remains. He's gonna direct.
I mean, that's
I mean,
shock, right?
like on the front line, directing. It's got to be shock. But he's directing, coordinating troops,
Yeah,
redirecting troops.
it's-
He's Rosecrans' credit. He
That's
is
his brain.
on the field, at the front, just doing his job. Like just
Yeah, that's his brain saying we're gonna think about anything else other than the fact that I'm covered in my best friend's brains.
yeah.
Like anything else, we're just gonna shut that out, not even think about it, and you can deal with that for every single night the rest of your life.
Now, the savior for the Union Army, again, this is like the second time in a few months that he's become the savior of the Union Army. The last time was over at the Battle of Perryville. We've got General Sheridan, who's going to be the right center portion
let's
of
go.
the right flank. So he's like, you know what? I've been here before. I know they're going to do an early morning attack. So he had his entire army, everybody underneath his command, up and ready in line at 4 a.m. with guns loaded, pointed at the enemy like,
boy.
bring it on, bitches. It's coming. He
Yes.
knows it's coming.
Let's go.
And
Yeah, I mean, sucks for those guys, but sucks less to be up early than it does to be surprised by Confederates stealing your cannons.
yeah, so when the
Well
Confederate
done there.
second wave underneath Polk hits, they're going to hit a very well prepared Sheridan who does not bend and fold quickly. It also doesn't hurt that Polk's spear tip, Confederate Polk's spear tip underneath Cheatham, well, he's a bit sluggish in his attack because he has had one too many drinks already.
Ah, shucks. That's yeah.
7 in the morning.
Not the night before.
He's-
not from the night. Just he woke
well,
up and he's
if
like,
it was
well,
for the night before, he's still going because he is. Multiple reports of him being very inebriated,
want-
attempting to command his troops.
yeah. Yeah, you want to know what? If I'm going to go die in a war,
Oh, I'm gonna
I
be.
gotta
Yeah,
get
I'm gonna
drunk
be.
a little
Yeah,
bit, too.
give me some alcohol.
I
and
mean,
be a little shit faced too
because
myself.
I'm not going to do well in war sober, so it's
No.
not going to make it like it's not. I'm not going to lose out on anything. I'm going to get killed pretty quickly. I
This
think.
defensive stand, however, is going to cost Sheridan quite a bit. He's going to lose a third of his men, and all of his brigade commanders, every single one of them, is going to be at least wounded and taken out of action
Oh Jesus!
during this battle, two of which will wind up passing away. So that's not great. Brigadier generals dropping left and right.
Yeah, that sucks. That's next man up, right? It's you got to have that next man up mentality. And, so there you go.
Next man up is there. This area of the battlefield quickly becomes known and labeled as the slaughter pen because that is how much
Oh God. Yeah. Of course it does. Yeah.
casualties are going on there. By 10 a.m., the Confederates have captured 28 cannons and 3,000 prisoners. By all accounts, looks like the battle's going to be over. I mean, because it should
It
be.
ought to be, right? It probably should have been. Probably just at that point, as the North, you gotta just like lick your wounds and regroup.
Yeah,
would
try
think.
something. Yeah. But all hope isn't going to be lost, Johnny, because the Confederate right flank commander Breckinridge is going to refuse to send reinforcements to assault down on the left flank because he's unaware that Crittenden actually hasn't engaged. Like, he's thinking Crittenden's coming because, like, they started in the morning. They had some engagement,
Yeah.
so he's expecting Crittenden to come up full assault at any moment, so he doesn't want to spare
And
any
he's
troops.
not. Why?
which I don't blame him. I mean, I get it. Like, logic would say.
I mean, yeah, if you think the enemy's coming, yeah, you gotta dig in.
So
and
Bragg
defend,
then
right?
orders Breckinridge, is like, all right, listen, if you're not going to give me any reinforcements, at least make a frontal assault from your positions to make some use of your men during this battle to at least
Help, yeah.
help something. At which point Breckinridge is like, yeah, no
Engage,
problem.
yeah,
And he
do
marches
something.
forward to see nobody there, going, oh, shit, there was nobody here the whole time? Damn it! Could have moved forward.
So they wasted how much time there? Just sitting on
quite
their
a bit.
thumbs instead of sending a scout.
And the good news here, though, is that there was some more Union trickery where there were some reports left by campfires and that kind of thing that faked a army coming down the turnpike, the Lebanon Turnpike, which is right in front of Breckinridge's forces. So Bragg gets those reports and goes, fuck, Breckinridge, stop your assault, come back. Like, there's a whole nother Union army coming. You got to sit back and defend. So it works. Screw it. That takes Breckinridge out of the battle for pretty much the first part of the day. Or first day.
All right, well, that's something.
By 11 a.m., Sheridan was so low on ammunition that the Union forces have to regroup, and he's going to have to pull back. Most importantly, here is that their artillery along the Nashville Turnpike has now been massed and unlimbered and loaded and ready to go and is engaged in the battle. And we have way more big guns than the Confederates do, so this is our shield, so to speak.
That's the turning. Is this a turning point, or is this
This
just
is
we're gonna just kill a bunch of
It
folks?
saves our army from being completely overrun.
Okay, that's great. That's good. I mean, that's what it's for,
Yes.
right?
So the Union Army is going to regroup. They're going to basically put their back against the Stones River and rely on their artillery as a shield and form a new defensive line. And instead of engaging an attack, they go, all right, well, we're hey,
Go ahead and come at our
Let's see what
cannons.
happens.
That's fine. Go ahead. Walk
And
at
that's
us. Yeah.
what the
how you like
Confederates
that.
did for the rest of the day. They assaulted the Union left over and over and over again with the same result, them getting just hit by cannons.
So it's Fredericksburg 2.0.
Not quite as bad as
What was it?
Fredericksburg, but
Was it
it's bad.
Fredericksburg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Union big guns create such a big, devastating area that it's called Hell's Half Acre, because that's
How nice, yeah. I like these
some good
are some
names.
hardcore
Yeah, Hell's Half
nicknames for
Acre.
the little areas here. This is as far as Civil War battle sites to visit, if you're ranking which ones by name, like this has got to be number one, right?
Yeah, I think I
Are there
misspoke. I
better
said Union left.
nicknames
Union
for
right is
battle
where they're
sites?
hitting. Yeah. Union right is where they're hitting.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
whatever.
the Union
They're
left.
always going counterclockwise, whatever.
Counterclockwise, yeah. This confuses me. Anyways, so it's now we're now approaching the late hour afternoon. Bragg's like, all right, this isn't working. Let's go ahead and attack the left. So if the right doesn't work, we'll attack the left. Go around there.
Switch it up.
Breckinridge,
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
We're gonna get you to go ahead and move forward
Finally.
again. Seems like that big advancing Union army is not really existent. So Breckinridge, go ahead and move forward. Breckinridge goes, I mean, like, how fast do you want me to move? Like double time, slow pace,
Regular, yeah,
like
half
speed.
speed,
Like
maybe?
it's not
Are we
going
sprinting?
great down there, and I'm not really too keen on just throwing my men
mean-
into a slaughter. So he's not moving at any
Oh, but isn't it what he has
real
been
quick.
doing?
Yeah, pretty much. So his first wave of very slowly moving troops is repulsed with super heavy casualties. Polk is going to reinforce Breckinridge and try for a second assault around 4 p.m., which is also
Successful.
very much quickly repulsed. And not only is it quickly repulsed, Union General Thomas, who's going to become another savior of this battle, he's going to counterattack and clear the area of Breckinridge's forces by 4:30 p.m. So the war, or the battle, is effectively over there a little before supper time. So everybody can go lick their
Oh, how
wounds.
nice. That's good, I guess.
But again, it's 4:30 in December, so it's dark, or it's getting dark.
It's getting, well,
getting
not
there.
yet. I mean, come on. It's starting to. You got another hour or two of sunlight.
So the first,
Did they have daylight savings time? Or
I don't know.
is this
I don't know, it might be pre-day. Anyways, Bragg is
because that makes a difference.
The first day of the battle is over with one gigantic fundamental flaw in Bragg's plan here. So Bragg thought he could cut off Rosecrans from his supplies, which he was doing with the Cav, and he thought one good assault would force the Union to rout or at least surrender. At least rout, hopefully surrender. But instead, all it did is actually like condense Rosecrans's army into a tight defensive position.
Oh,
And Rosecrans was like, I'm not retreating. I'm not
Nice.
backing up. Screw it.
it's like, yeah,
Stand
hell
your
yeah.
ground and fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a good spot. Dig in.
Because that's what Rosecrans is. He that night he goes to his senior commanders and says, "Hey, listen, guys, what do you want to do?" A couple of them were like, "Hey, we should
yeah.
probably retreat. This wasn't so great for us." And then you got General
That
Thomas
would've
and General Sheridan going, "Fuck it, dig in, bitches. We got this shit."
Let's go. Yeah, we can do this.
And
How hard can it be?
reportedly, Thomas says, "This army does not retreat," which is hilarious because you just retreated like 3 miles from your original positions.
Any further than that? Like total retreat is what
This is what he meant.
him.
By 3 a.m. on the 1st, the New Year's, Rosecrans decides that the
Happy New
that the
Year's.
right flank of the Confederates, yeah, it still looks ripe for the picking, and so he's going to try to renew his plan from the first day, which was that he's going to move Van Cleve's division, which, mind you, Van Cleve's is wounded, so he is now no longer in command of that division, to occupy the hills across the river on the north end of the battlefield, where they kind of were originally trying to get some artillery up there. And he's going to also extend his artillery positions on the hill behind that hill. So there's the river that's run through. You've got the hill on the north side that he's trying to
Yeah.
get. He's sending Van Cleve's division up there to get, and he's got this hill behind. So he's going to put 45 cannons hub to hub, which means these guys are stacked.
Hell yeah.
Stacked hub to hub. So they're like
Hub, like wheel
hub,
to wheel hub.
wheel hub. Yes, you are very
So,
densely
yeah.
packed artillery.
Woo. 400?
45 guns. 45 guns.
45.
That's still a crap ton of
So-
guns.
And so they are, how big how are they, like 5-6 feet across?
Yeah. They're think of a wagon.
Ish. That's
Think of the
a
width of a
long-
wagon. They're about the width of a wagon. And there's 45
Jesus,
guns.
that's a long.
A Union battery is 12 guns. So that
One.
is, 5 batteries? 4 batteries? 4 batteries. About.
4.
These are
Jeez.
stacked guns.
Yeah.
And they're going to prove to be the hero of the battle
I
when they get engaged.
mean, yeah, you.
And
Guess what? When
6
you're
guns. Actually,
down
no, I'm sorry.
low,
Sorry,
and
Union.
you're-
Is it 6? Is it 6 guns per battery? I think it's
I don't
6 guns.
know.
It's 6 guns per battery. I think. Yes, 6 guns per battery. That's what 8 batteries of guns stacked end to end. That's a lot of fucking cannons. It's the point.
Yeah,
it's a lot of damn cannons.
It's gonna be loud.
a lot of cannons.
Gonna be loud.
It's gonna be loud.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear it. It's gonna put some cotton in the ears because it's gonna be loud. But then Johnny, nothing happens. The rest.
It's hard to come by though, so maybe wool
Maybe
instead.
something. Yeah. The rest of the battle, the day, the first the New Year's Day goes on with nothing. Rosecrans moves his troops, but no actual fighting happens on the first. Both sides are very much content with collecting their plentiful amount of wounded and dead and trying to take care of them, lick
Yeah,
the wounds,
and hungover from their New Year's celebrations.
hungover from the New Year's
also,
celebration.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
Yep.
Because I'm sure they were all up at midnight when they have to.
I'm sure,
be up
probably.
at 4 a.m.
Could you
or
imagine, like,
whatever.
after, like, watching your buddies
Kill
get,
people.
like, blown away next to you, and you're like, Happy New Year! With a kazoo.
Happy New- Oh well, and the awkward part when you have to get your first kiss of the year, right?
There's a bunch of dudes. And only a bunch of dudes. Yeah. By early afternoon on the 2nd, it looks like both sides were content to, again, sink back and stare at each other. And that is until Bragg orders Breckinridge to assault the positions that Van Cleve's division has just occupied on the previous day. Breckinridge is like, no, I don't want to do that. That seems really stupid and suicidal. I've got to go up a hill, take that hill, and we don't know what's beyond that hill. We're not even entirely sure what's on that hill, and you want me to go assault that?
Hey, you know what could solve at least part of that problem is sending a fucking scout somewhere to look at something.
Yeah, there's that.
You wonder balloons, right? Don't we have balloons?
The
that we
Confederate.
can
I don't
put
think
up
the
in the
Confederates
air?
ever really had very many balloons. No, we did, but the Confederates really
Oh.
didn't. And that was
Suckers.
we didn't. We really didn't have. We had them, but we didn't have.
We should have used them.
It would have, yeah. There were enough of them though that the we are. This is completely like tune out for the next 2 seconds. This is autistic Tom rant mode here. The Weard cannon. It's a Union gun that we actually did develop. Not necessarily specifically, but the way the carriage is built and the way the gun tube is built, you can actually take that cannon barrel and point it really high up, like damn near 90 degrees, and that really came in handy when there were Confederate balloons that we could, boo, shoot them out of the sky.
Pop the balloon.
So
So we had like land to surface to air missiles.
Basically.
Essentially, the first surface to air missiles were cannonballs through balloons.
Yeah, if only our president knew that we were shooting down balloons, spy balloons, well before with cannons. We didn't have to use the F-22, but whatever. Fine, use it if we got it. At least the F-22's now got a.
I mean, hey, would you?
At least
Yeah, I mean,
it's
if
got a
we're
kill
paying
record
that
now.
much for
Hey, it
good
knocked
God.
something out of the air finally. Good for it.
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, how many billions of dollars?
I think we're in trillions.
Anyway,
at this
that's
point.
a different.
Anyway, that's
episode.
beside the point. Beside the point. All right. After some convincing, Breckinridge is like, fine. He's going to send 5,000 troops that are instantly going to become under heavy fire from artillery. But their daring charge is able to push Van Cleve's forces off that first hill, and they have to go across the ford. At which point, they are promptly met with those 45 guns, hub to hub, on the hill across the river that's perfectly sighted in. And
How'd it go for him?
not great, Johnny, because
Not well. They,
in addition to those 45 guns, there's actually 12 guns or 2 other batteries at McFadden's Hill, which provides enfilade fire. So you got fire coming in this way, and then you got fire coming in from this way, and
waffling them.
waffling them. And in 45 minutes, Johnny, Breckinridge's assault is stalled, and he loses 1,800 men of his 5,000 in 45 minutes.
45 minutes?
45 minutes. That is how devastating the artillery was at this particular moment. This battle.
That's insane.
He's actually going to lose a third of his forces that volunteered from Kentucky. He lovingly referred to these Kentucky volunteers as orphans because, Kentucky didn't secede, so they had no way to go home.
Right, yeah.
So he called them his orphans, and he is seen after this portion of the battle riding through the Kentucky forces, or what's left of them, going, my poor orphans, my poor orphans.
Oh.
But you got a few less mouths to feed on this particular day.
Aw.
Because a third of them are
It's
gone.
kind of sad.
At 4:45.
They were probably also actual children.
Yeah.
So
At 4:45, General Thomas again is going to order a counter-charge and again quickly push Breckinridge's forces aside, or what's remaining aside, and retake the hill. So, yay!
yeah, right.
Death for no reason.
Love it. It's just God. If you really love senseless death, check out the Civil War.
Yep.
Because good God.
On the morning of the 3rd, Rosecrans is going to receive a supply train and reinforcing brigade underneath James Spears. This essentially solidifies the end of Bragg. Seeing that the Union wasn't leaving, and seeing that they are now actively being resupplied with food, ammunition, and a whole other brigade, he realizes that it won't be very long until Rosecrans' entire army is on that train and there. And so if he sticks put, there really isn't much hope for him. General Thomas on the 3rd is actually going to hit the center of the line to stop sharpshooters from harassing him. He basically gets sick of his troops coming under sharpshooter fire. He's like, fucking charge! And he pushes those sharpshooters aside.
Yeah.
The battle's over on the 2nd, but there was a small skirmish here on the 3rd.
They keep doing
Yeah,
shit.
there's a small little skirmish on the 3rd. And by 10 p.m. On the 3rd, Bragg is going to withdraw his forces from the field. And that's all she wrote. Murfreesboro is now in the Union hands, Johnny. We have a Union victory.
Yay.
It's a Union victory.
Yeah,
it is a
yeah,
Union
people,
victory.
we can
It
get
is
'em.
not how you
We'll
would
take
want a victory to happen, but it is a Union victory.
And tell us why. Tell me, what's this casualty report?
The casualty report, Johnny, of the 43,000 Union engaged, 1,677 are going to be outright killed, 7,543 wounded, 4,684 captured or missing. Of the 35,000 Confederate engaged,
12 to 13,000 or so? Total casualties?
Yeah,
What's
yes.
the total?
Of the 35,000 Confederate engaged, 1,294 killed, 7,945 wounded, 2,500 captured or missing, which is a total casualty
So,
percent
pretty
between both
close.
armies. If you add both armies up together and you take both casualty counts together, you add them up, that is a 32.7% casualty rate,
A
which is a
third.
third
A
of
third
the
of
entire
the people involved died.
At least,
Or no. Were
at least were
casualties.
mildly inconvenienced with a bullet in them somewhere.
Yeah. Or shrapnel,
or
a tree branch fell on their head after a cannon knocked it off,
or a
like
cannon
all sorts of crazy
round
shit. I'm
took
sure.
off a head.
Sprained an ankle, running away, like who knows? Like it could be anything.
All of those are valid options there. Four brigadier
But a
generals.
third is insane.
4 brigadier generals are going to die. 2 on the Union side, 2 on the Confederate side, not including wounded. That's just the ones that die. So that's not great.
Yeah, it's major.
Keep in context.
Well,
I
not
don't think
major's
we've
pretty
lost
here,
a
but-
brigadier general for the United States since maybe World War II. That's a high-ranking person to die in combat. So,
Yeah,
and there was 4 of them.
that's
all
a
in one
lot.
battle.
Yeah, wars were fought differently back
sure.
then, though. I feel like
And the famous amongst Union wounded was Frances Quinn, a.k.a. Elizabeth Quinn, who was a female who dressed up as a man to fight, and we will do a special on her, or maybe just
Hell
a
yeah.
general special on women in the war, because there's a lot of women that just like I'm gonna go fight
I can
because I can do this, or
Yeah.
they're left at
Yeah.
home, their
I
husband
know how to
died,
use
and
a
they got nothing else
gun.
going on. They're like, fuck it, I can do that. They dressed.
Or they're just passionate about this war because people were passionate
Yeah,
about
could
the
be,
war
could
and
be.
wanted to join up, especially early on.
Not so much at
less
this
so
point. At this
now-ish
point, the
in the war.
passion is gone. At this point, there's
Little
not a
less
lot of
enthu-
people
little less
volunteering.
a couple fewer people just buying themselves armies to go and play war right
Yeah.
now.
A few less.
So much of that
Yeah.
happening anymore.
Not so much, no. In the end, the battle proved how effective modern artillery really is, because before the Civil War, artillery was kind of a side piece. You didn't really see artillery winning battles.
Was that because of
Just the technology. They
how
were all smooth
ineffective
bores and how that
and just-
yeah.
just a crapshoot and probably lots of issues with
Yeah.
them blowing up and
Um,
causing issues?
But here, this is the second battle in a row on the Western Front where artillery really kind of won the day.
Won it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one, very much, if it wasn't for the Union guns, they would have lost. Bragg is
doubt.
going to be chastised by his under-officers, saying that he was too cautious, the attack was piecemeal, yup.
Yeah, accurate
You
criticism.
chose a really poor place to defend.
Fair.
Yup. I mean, all these are accurate criticisms. But Traitor
Yeah,
President
fair.
Davis and his commanding officer Johnson can't think of anybody better to replace him with, so he gets to keep his job. Lincoln is going to prove how vital this was to morale by writing Rosecrans directly after the battle, saying, and I quote, "You have gave us a hard-earned victory, which had there been defeat instead, the nation could scarcely have lived over." Which, yup, if you would have had 2 major
That would have been
Union
it.
losses back to back,
Yeah.
I don't know if we would have surrendered, but it's
It's
definitely
hard.
not going
It's
to help
hard to
things.
keep the
Yeah.
public. It's hard to keep the public interest
Yeah.
at that point and enthusiasm, and you might be dealing with a second
Civil War
revolt to that you can't. You're not going to win 2 at a time.
No,
I
you're
don't
not going to win 2 at a time. And over the next five months, Rosecrans is going to reinforce and turn Murfreesboro into a fort dubbed Fort Rosecrans, which is an earthenwork fort basically around the entire city, and it's going to operate as a pivotal supply hub for the remainder of the war. So, that's not the end of Rosecrans. He does get involved in actions later down the road, but for the next 5 months, he's going to be building a fort, building a supply line.
Being a supply chain guy,
Supply chain guy to Grant's
that's dope.
army in Vicksburg. So, yeah.
Let's go. That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about HD DVD or Blu-ray.